Hi, everybody. My name is Zeb Wellborn, president of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. Today, I'm here with Rhonda Dennis from R&R Breakfast Spot. She's a business owner in the city of Chino, and she just opened up her business right before the coronavirus hit. I think she was either the last or close to the last ribbon cutting we actually held before the coronavirus happened. And so I kind of wanted to have her on to talk about the experience of starting a business, going through the coronavirus, and then she also has some personal experience in dealing with family members that have contracted the coronavirus. So I thought that would also be something extremely valuable for our business community to learn about as well. So Rhonda, I want to thank you for chatting with me today. So let's just start about the opening of your business. You know, this is a new adventure. I know you told the story out of your ribbon cutting. Can you just kind of tell everybody about why you were starting the business and walk us through the experience of starting a business and then almost immediately being told to shut down the business?
This dream came about because my husband is actually pretty much near retirement. He has a time frame of about 5 years. So that prompted me to figure out a solution for myself where I was able to retire as well. So I came up with the notion of a breakfast spot. I had looked around, and statistically, they do very well. So the wheels were in motion. We actually started in March. We got our business license, our EIN, in March of 2019. And after careful consideration and looking at a ton of places, we rested on Chino. Chino, we just had a very good vibe here. We heard very good things about the city. And we just decided to open here. So after many months of getting equipment together, getting our business license, and all the necessary evils to start our business, we actually opened our doors on January the 7th. January the 7th, it was a slow roll. Then we quickly started to gain traction in February and March, and the pandemic hits. So we did close down. We closed down for several weeks in the beginning for more than one reason. The first reason being resources. We were too small to order big. And as you know, the shelves were pretty much empty in all of the stores and even the restaurant supply stores where they had opened to the public for people to get groceries. We just couldn't win. After things started to kind of settle, where the shelves were starting to get back to not a normal pace, but just where we could get most of the items that we needed, we did open back up. 2 weeks after we opened back up, my father contracted the coronavirus as well and succumbed to it on April the 30th. So we closed down for a day, just really trying to get things in order. We were totally unprepared for it. He was in a nursing home where we were advised that he had tested and was negative. So we were given incorrect results. I think that maybe they inadvertently gave me someone else's. So they rushed him to the hospital on Wednesday, and he died on Thursday. My husband's an essential worker. He works for Kroger, Ralph's, in the Compton distribution office. And daily he came home and would say, you know, such and such has it, or this name has it. And they were familiar names to me because he works very closely with these people. Finally, he got it. So he was diagnosed on the 17th, the 16th of May. And he's been quarantined ever since. Tested this last Friday, still was positive on Saturday. I myself has tested twice, the same exact times that he has, and I've been negative both times, thank God. But all of this has impacted us greatly, mainly because I was very nervous for my staff. You know, I didn't want to affect my staff, so I closed down for a week in May until I figured out whether we had it or not, if I had it as well. We lost a lot of food. We lost a lot of customers. You know, there were all these variables that I had to weigh to make sure that, one, we were compliant for the COVID, knowing that this is the week after the doors opened. So I think this was on the day after Memorial Day. We closed that week. just because I had a temperature of about 99 and I couldn't figure out why. Turns out, funny enough story, it was the thermometer. The thermometer just wasn't a good one. So I'd advise people, if you have more than one thermometer, check it if you've had it for years. I bought a brand new one, and the brand new one gave me a totally different read. So it was a warranted, panic, because again, I have staff with small children, elderly family, and it just, I can't even begin to think, because I lost my dad to this, giving it to someone and them, having the same effect that I've had. So, starting a business itself, all by itself, is a job. I think you budget for a certain amount and it never really becomes that amount. It's 10 times more than that. So we were fortunate enough to get the PPE loan. Still really trying to get the EIDL loan, because the PPE loan just won't hold us. It's just not going to be enough for what we've lost thus far. Our rent is pretty pricey. We still had to pay a portion of that throughout the pandemic. My lease owner didn't bend on a whole lot of it. So now we're in a position to where we pay extra every month. So they didn't just totally do away with it or put it on the back of our contract. We're paying it in portions, which is pricey for us, including our staff needs and the prices of food that have gone up tremendously, which I'm sure every restaurant owner is feeling right now. So our goal is to try to stay afloat. There's a benefit. The Black Lives Matter movement, fortunately, is helping us just a little bit, because it is shedding light on Black businesses, which, that's us. And there are a ton of people who have learned that we're here that didn't know that we were here before. So that's an absolute plus. But we're still not above water. We're just not.
Yeah, so it feels like you've kind of been hit by all angles from this thing. How does that, I mean, is that a curiosity? Like, how does that, what are you going through during when all this is happening? You seem pretty composed and calm as you're talking to me, but I'm kind of curious to know just like kind of the emotions and everything that you're going through.
Well, you pray, you cry, you pray, you cry. And one thing I can say is steady for us. We come in every morning. My staff shares my love for the Lord, and we pray every morning. So the only reason I'm here is I think God ordained my steps to get here. This isn't, I can't tell you this was just my dream to be a restaurant owner. It just kind of came to me. I think I've told you this story before, how when I thought of ideas for me to own a business, I had looked at several different options. Everywhere from a nail shop to, a car wash. I had looked at several different things, but the one thing I landed on was a restaurant, because I've always cooked for my family, and I figured with this business, there would be nothing in-house that I'm unable to do. So I think God just kind of spoke to me and led me here. And because of that, my faith is just that strong. I believe that if God brought me to it, he'll bring me through it. And that's where I'm landing. I can't have faith and fear. They just don't mix. So if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And if it's not, then that's just where God is going to place me. So at this point, I'm just prayerful. And that's where I'm going to leave it, because if I do anything else, I might go crazy. I haven't seen my husband in 3 weeks. It's just, if you can imagine living with someone but not seeing them. He's been in our office. I worked from home before this, and he has an air mattress, and, I put food outside of the door, and he's just that, he's really, he cares enough about us that he does, and he loves us so much, he doesn't want us to get it. So he won't come out, and when he does, he has on masks and gloves, and he tries to come out when we're here at the restaurant. So, it's a process, but it's one that we'll get through, and we'll get through, and I'm sure, with flying colors out of that. He's been very fortunate. If I had to tell a story about, how his journey was through the COVID, he was blessed. You know, he didn't get a ton of symptoms. He just knew he had a fever. You know, he felt it when he came home. He said, I feel hot. You know, I'm going to take my temperature. It was high. He went and got the test. So he pretty much knew he was positive, but he didn't really have a whole lot. So I didn't have to deal with that worry. You know, there was one day his fever spiked to, I think, 105. Other than that, we've been pretty blessed. So, you know, throughout all of this, you know, I think the biggest thing for me is just believing, you know, believing in the dream and knowing that even though this wasn't my dream, the retirement dream that I have, it's going to work. You know, it has to work. And I don't know how it's going to work. Is my belief is just that strong. And, you know, just to even get back to, you know, just saying that this was going to be my dream. I had never even been in the back of a kitchen in a restaurant. So all of this challenge has been much different for me than most people who own restaurants. Most people have been cooks before, or they've catered before. I've done none of that. So I'm still very early in my learning process, as well as, you know, being a business owner, learning the ins and outs of a restaurant.
Yeah. One thing I also kind of want to ask you is because there's an interesting dynamic that's at play with our current state of affairs, which is, especially from a business perspective, right? We want to see people open, we want to see businesses and the economy get back going the way that they should. But there's also the very real concern, and you've experienced this firsthand, of people that do contract the coronavirus and as your father passed away from it. And so I kind of want to help educate our business owners about how to navigate that. And I think you might be a good person to kind of talk to that.
Absolutely.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that, the struggles that you're going through as a business owner, knowing the reality of what it is versus the experience of your new business that you're opening and trying to get off the ground.
Sure. Well, we're very careful. So every morning after we pray, we take our temperatures, and I'm very upfront with my employees, um, because I understand the effects of it. And every morning we talk about, my husband's name is Rodney, so we talk about Rodney's progress, where he's at, you know, what type of things I do at home, so that they understand, you know, even coming to work, what their risks are and what they are not, you know, because it's one thing to say I have it, you know, my husband has it, but it's also another to talk about your best practices. You know, what are our practices at home? You know, I talk about that so that they know where I'm coming from and they understand, and I expect that of them as well, because it is very scary when someone hears you have the COVID, right? So you become alienated. People are instantly like, oh my God, okay, you have this, or someone in your house has it. How are you not going to get it? But you have to really practice that distancing, and it's a reality that is very harsh because you don't believe it would hit you. You know, and I think my husband thought that. I think he thought, oh, you know, it's not really going to happen, because he continued to go to work, and he continued to go to work because we have this restaurant, because you get a lot of debt. You accumulate a lot of debt when you start a business, unforeseen debt that you don't even think. You know, one of the things that happened the first week we got back, we opened up, and then we needed Pepsi. Pepsi got a new solution. So this is mind blowing to me that this even happened. But Pepsi needed a different valve for the outlet valve where the water comes in. So my owner, the way that they do things is they say, oh, well, when you need the water shut off, everyone gets shut off. Well, that's not a viable option. Pizza Hut needs to work. Juan Pollo needs to work. I can't shut down everyone's water, but that's the way they've been doing it forever. So the plumber that came here said, oh, well, you have a shut-off valve, your own shut-off valve. We can shut it off. Turns out our shut-off valve was very old. So when they did it, when they went to turn the water off, it stripped. So it started to leak. My husband and I had to stay the night here and change out the bucket every hour until they showed up about 6 that morning to shut everyone's water off to fix it. And that was an unforeseen charge. It was almost $1,000 for us to fix that my owner wouldn't even cover. So, you don't budget for these things. You don't see them coming. You don't think that they're going to come, and you still have to stay in business, because then you become a totally different vision to customers. Like, oh, they're closed today. Are they open sometimes? Are they closed sometimes? And through the pandemic, that was the hardest thing for us. That harsh reality that now we have to shut again. So I'm shutting off for the COVID, and I couldn't tell on my social media. I didn't feel like it was appropriate to voice our journey through that, because it's scary. I could have done it, and I could have taken the spin on it, but it's too hard being a new business taking the spin on it, because I didn't have the buy-in from my customers. I didn't have any steady customers. So once you say, it's affected us, how do customers perceive you? Well, they may not perceive you at all. They may choose just not to do business with you in fear that they may contract it themselves. So we got hit in so many different ways through this. I mean, just things we didn't see coming, things that, we tried to make sure, that my very first priority is not just my business, but it's the people who work for me. They make this wheel turn, and when I shut down the second time, it was mainly because of them, because my kitchen is very small, and I just refused to work in that kitchen with them, thinking that it could happen to them if I had it. So, I think communication, as a business owner, if I had to give any advice to another business owner, it would be that. It would be, if you think you have it, or you've been hit with it in your home, having those conversations, those very candid, hurtful conversations, because believe me, it didn't feel good to come in here and say, hello, you guys, my husband has a COVID. And, for them to stay on board, because how do they know, I'm not sneaking in to sleep with my husband because I miss him. I do. I can't even put that into words, but, how do you gain that trust? And that trust comes from that communication. And I think, taking that temperature, really going the extra mile, is what is going to make us, stay that much closer, to understand where your employees are so they don't leave. Because one thing in a restaurant, the turnover is tremendous. I've gone through so many different servers, so many, uncountable. So, the ones I have, I've been very lucky. They've been great. But, the pandemic, my server didn't come back. She's one of them, who I truly adore. She didn't come back. I don't know if the unemployment was greater, but she said it just didn't make good sense for her to come back. So just communication, business owners, communication. I think it makes every difference. I did communicate. That is one thing I did do on social media. I did tell everyone that my dad passed. I do want to give some awareness to it, but I have to be careful what awareness I give on a broader scale, so that, it doesn't shy my customers totally away. My dad has been in a home. He had dementia, very severe dementia. So when not long before I started this journey, we had decided to put him into a home. He had very severe dementia where he was in New York. I had sent him to New York because my dad's dementia, he would wander off. And we have I'm the only family out here. My mom and dad were interracial. My mom was white, my dad was black. And when they got together, my mom's family pretty much disowned her. So they moved to California. So if you can imagine, it was just me, my dad, my brother, and that's it. And my mom. And so knowing that we had no family out here, I made the decision to send him to New York because I had brothers and sisters out there. Well, my sister died in the interim as well. My sister got cancer, a rare form of cancer, the one that was able to take care of him. And I think he just didn't want to stay. So one day he just got on a plane, didn't tell anyone, got off the plane, wandered around the streets of Los Angeles for about 3 days until they found him. And when they found him, I tried to bring him back in the home and keep him for several months, and I just couldn't, because it was just me and my children. So right before I made the decision to start the restaurant, he went into that home. So the home was a really good home. I think they did the best they could. I don't know how the misdiagnosis came to me. I did know that there was an outbreak there. It was public, as well as the fact that they had called me as well, and they had informed me that there was an outbreak there. But I don't think I was mentally prepared, for what happened when I got to the hospital, and I had assumed that he didn't have it. I lost it. That was the moment where I would say I completely lost it. When I walked into the emergency room, they asked me if the person that I was coming to see was COVID positive, and I told them no. So the doctor comes out and he comes to me and he said, "Are you sure? Are we talking about the right person?" I said, "No, he's been positive for 2 weeks." And unfortunately, I had missed the last video call with him, so I didn't even get to see the progression of how it overtook him. I don't know, what stages he had gone through. I missed out on a lot of that. And I think for me, that was my breaking point. Through all this pandemic, I don't think that anything affected me the way that it did then. I lost it. And I only stayed closed one day for that. And I will tell you the way that the hospital that I went through dealt with it, because I think this is another thing that's not talked about, is when someone you love has passed away from the COVID, there's a very different type of way to deal with it from the hospitals and from the mortuary. So the mortuary, they charge you more. There's a COVID handling charge that they charge you extra. The hospital told me that they had such an outbreak that they didn't have a morgue to put him in. He was literally in the ICU just there. So he died they called me at about 6:30 that morning. By 11 o'clock, they called me every single hour on the hour, asking me to come get the body. I didn't have an appointment with the funeral home until 2. They asked me to ask the funeral home to come get him just based off of my word. They said that they have to move those bodies so quickly because of the COVID that there's no way you can keep a body there for 24 hours. Unbeknownst to me that he even had it, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
So there's no way for you to prepare mentally when your parent dies anyway. But that just totally, I was just, outdone at that point. I was, when they informed me he had it and I went home, I don't think it was an hour before they called me and asked me to take him off the ventilator. So they had immediately wanted to take him off, and you have no way of knowing. You don't know if they're really going to keep him on. I had asked that they keep him on for 24 hours. I don't know if they did or not. I can hope that they did and respect my word, but I still don't know. And it all just happens it happened very quickly for me. I don't know about other families. I've seen a lot of stories shared on Instagram. I think mine was just unique to me because it was my story, but I didn't have a lot of time to even deal with it. It happened. It was quick. It was over. And when my husband got it, I don't think I had such a fear, because I just prayed on it, and I believe that God already had it. So it didn't really rattle me. It just more gave me a sense of, okay, we have our arms wrapped around this. We understand it. We know he has it. We know the steps to take. And we knew we would be okay.
All right. Well, Rhonda, I feel for everything that you've had to go through this, and I hope that like you've kind of articulated that you're getting through this and that you're going to be better for it. So I hope that's the case, and just know that we're rooting for you. And if people want to kind of reach out, offer some kind of support or do anything, like, what would be the best way that people could help you right now?
Just business. I was denied for the idle loan, and I responded to them like, I don't want any handouts. I want to work for it. So, just support us. Just, stop by and get a meal. Handouts would be great, but it's not how I'm built. I really want to make a difference in the community. I want to become a pillar in this community. I'd love to be, not just another Black-owned restaurant, but some place that you like to be, family owned and comfortable when you eat. So support means everything to us. Even a shout out, it costs nothing, to shout us out on your social media, things like that make a huge difference. And, I just want to give you a special thank you because I think that you always advocated for us from the very beginning. When I met you, I felt as if the city of Chino really did wrap their arms around us as a business and tried to do the best that you could for us. And I see it and I appreciate it. It means everything to us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing that story with me and with everybody else. So thank you, Rhonda. And
All right.
best of luck with everything. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Zeb. You have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.